Let us for a few moments turn the mind inward and approach the Divine Supreme dwelling in our heart with love and devotion. Let us pray to that Divine Spirit for the welfare and prosperity of the whole universe. Shanti Shanti Hari Om Tat Sat. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om Sthapakaya ca dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Sthapakaya ca dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Pratyormamritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the Supreme God incarnate, who showed the practical spirituality to the world, who integrated all religions and paved the way for peace and harmony among all religions of the world. He established unity in diversity with regards to practice of religion. Sri Ramakrishna is the center of all these religious goals. All lead to the same Supreme Being. That Supreme Being is none other than Sri Ramakrishna. So through this incarnation, we have become acquainted for the first time a remarkable spiritual power manifested in him. Sri Ramakrishna is spiritual within, without. There is nothing but spirituality in him. His whole body and mind were pure sattvic. He was the light of lights, source of all knowledge, the abode of supreme peace. And we can perceive the glory of the divine through Sri Ramakrishna, following his teachings, practicing spirituality. While practicing spiritual life, sometimes we do get some extraordinary powers. When we maintain purity and discipline, these powers manifest. But Sri Ramakrishna warns we should be careful about them, because these spiritual powers also are distractions. They are tremendous temptations. It is more tempting than the worldly temptations. Worldly temptations pale to insignificance in front of spiritual temptations. These spiritual temptations act like obstructions on our way to reach God. Tremendous tests we have to pass through before we become blessed with the realization of God. Lord Krishna has clearly pointed out in Gita, he said to Arjun, Arjun, even if a person acquires one of the 8 siddhis, what does it mean? He only adds a little to his power, but he will not be able to see him, realize him referring to God. The meaning is one cannot get rid of Maya as long as one exercises these supernatural powers. And Maya begets egotism. Now powers, sometimes they come of themselves to the spiritual aspirant. But the moment he cares for them, he is gone. The moment he pays attention to these powers, it indicates he is going astray. His further progress is stopped. These powers, we should note, they do not last long. Not to speak of using them for selfish purposes, even using them for their ends, for other ends, means losing them. Sri Ramakrishna gives an example. A man set out from home in the search of gems of the sea. When he came to the seashore, he found variously colored pebbles and shells scattered all around. And his whole attention was to pick them up and fill his pockets. He was just enamored by these pebbles, stones. He forgot all about the gems in the sea. So the divine Maya deludes us all so as to forget our ideal. Now, the powers also indicate to what extent we have become spiritual. That's also true. Our powers increase as we prove our fitness. If we repeat the divine name 100,000 times a day, the spiritual power manifests. It manifests in such a person. His mind must be saturated with the divine name. Then the spiritual power will manifest. Man is made in the image of God. That is, man possesses all the power of God, but in miniature form. Just as a spark of fire has all the potency of the fire, it can burn the whole area. That spark is able to do that. It has got all that power inside. Even so, all of us do have that power. But we are all evolving. Evolution is a process of rolling out. As we evolve spiritually, the inner powers become more and more manifest. Let them come. They bow down to you. Here we are to serve you. Bless them so that they may keep quiet. We must be never satisfied with little. We are infinite. We are all perfect. And until we realize our infinite nature, we must not stop. We should not think that we are intellectually limited. We have the brain of Socrates. We have the intelligence of a Newton. Only we have allowed a lot of dust and dirt to cover it over. We must wipe away the dust, arouse our ambition, stir up our activity, and know that all power is latent in us. We are not limited. No. We are as limitless as any of the greatest sage of yore, between whom and God space and time never intervene. If we have the power to go inside ourselves, then we have conquered the whole universe. What is the meaning? To go inside oneself means to go away from earthly attachments that hold us down like a captive balloon. Worldly attachments. We are just caught. We are losing everything because of that attachment. It is the greatest deluding power, causing us in severe bondage. Though it is very difficult to go inside, it is not impossible. It is possible through either discrimination or devotion. Those who lead an unregulated life, carefree life, not bothered, and think impure thoughts, they lose their powers and strength of mind. By such acts they become more and more weak, they become spiritually bankrupt. They are at the mercy of passing desires and the feverish cravings of the senses. As long as we are tied down to these cravings of the senses, we are very far away from God. In a way, we have become slaves to these cravings. There was a person, Sri Ramakrishna gives an example, who had mastered 82 postures of yoga, a great Hatha yogi. At least I have noticed, anybody practicing this Hatha yoga begins to give a lecture on philosophy. Philosophy has nothing to do with this yogasana. But they talk in such a way that they are big yogic masters. And this particular man who had mastered 82 postures, he talked big about yoga samadhi. Talking is very easy, anybody can talk. But inwardly, how was his mind behaving? Full of lust. Mind was full of lust. And he was craving for money. I must become the richest man in the world. I must have all enjoyments in this world. Why is not possible? So he thought that these yogic asanas give him all these things. Once it so happened, he found a banknote which could fetch him several $1,000s. Of course, in gospel it is written as rupees. Because I am speaking in America, I am telling as dollars. Anyway, when he saw that, he could not resist temptation. If he had really attained samadhi, he would not have cared for this. He would just ignore and he would go by himself. But his mind was not free from impurities. So what he did, he swallowed it, thinking he might get it out sometime later, because he knew all the postures. It is true. After some time he brought out the note from his stomach. All right. But he was sent to jail for 3 years. So this is the way how people get cheated in the name of these powers. Just if a man stands on 2 legs inverted, they consider him as a big yogi. If a man controls breath, pranayam, he is nothing less than God. So it's very easy for the people to be cheated. So Sri Ramakrishna tells, spiritual powers are more tempting than the worldly ones. Just as the worldly powers are also infinite, there is no limit to worldly powers, spiritual powers are also infinite. The more you go towards spiritual life, the more you acquire spiritual powers. So our strength lies in not paying heed to those powers, just going forward, not stopping our travel, not stopping our journey. If you stop and look at these powers, you are gone. You should never look at them, even though they are most fascinating and most enchanting. It is true, they give you immense joy. It is true. But you will be robbed of the infinite bliss that you would get by realizing God. So, we had to pass through many, many hurdles before we could realize the supreme reality. Well, for success in spiritual life, for our spiritual development, Sri Ramakrishna tells faith is most important. Faith. It acts wonderfully and takes one fast towards God. If a man performs worship, japa, meditation, whatever the spiritual activity he is doing, serving others, holy people, if it is accompanied by faith, he will have tremendous progress in spirituality. What really comes through spiritual practice is this unswerving faith. When we constantly engage ourselves in spiritual activities, it enhances our faith. That's also true. Faith in the words of Guru, the spiritual teacher, in the Supreme God, in the sacred scriptures. Very, very important. Some people look depressed. Probably depression comes to give a kind of jolt to us. And it proves as a test also. When depression comes, how do we behave? Do we become more cowards? Or do we trample upon this dirty depression, which acts like a poison? Why people become depressed? It shows their faith in God is lukewarm. One must cultivate self-confidence. Without Shraddha or firm faith in oneself, man is no man, woman is no woman. He is a bundle of negatives. He accomplishes nothing. So believe that you have the power to achieve anything, and your heart sets itself upon. So Sri Ramakrishna teaches, keep your faith firm and repeat the name of the Lord. You will know everything from within yourself. Everything is within you. Knowledge is within you. Light is already there. It is shining in all its glory. In everyone's heart it is shining. Shining beautifully. If one sees that light, he becomes blessed throughout his life. What really comes through spiritual practice is this unswerving faith. Faith in the words of the Guru, the spiritual teacher, in the Lord, the divine supreme being, in the sacred scriptures. So Sri Ramakrishna points out, faith is the foundation of spiritual life. Suppose a man has no faith in himself. What we should do? We should hold him down under the water of the Ganga and not let him come up for a time, even if he wants to. He will then believe God holds us down in this way in the ocean of the world. Our neck are pressed in the waters of the world. So performance of worship, repeating divine name and devotion, all these spiritual activities give remarkable results when accompanied with faith. So faith we must develop. So that's a very important point we should remember, which Sri Ramakrishna has pointed out to us. Everything has got meaning, everything has got value, everything has got significance. Everything is for us to cultivate, to develop and to enjoy the spirituality. So, spiritual discipline is very essential. It's only through spiritual discipline we can have the illumination. Sri Ramakrishna tells, he is telling, who is Sri Ramakrishna? Who is Parabrahman himself? Who is Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara himself? Who is Durga, Kali, Shakti, Lakshmi, Saraswati? All the power, whatever you say in spiritual world, everything is he. He is telling, incarnation, who practiced all religions, who realized truth in every religion. He is telling, who had realization of the non-dualism, who realized that everything is Brahman and Brahman only. He is telling, what is he telling? Believe in the form of God. Don't entertain any doubts regarding that. First you try to attain, try to see the God whom you worship. On attaining Him, then you will have the experience of non-duality too. You will have the experience of the oneness of Brahman and its Shakti. The whole secret stands revealed. Brahman and Shakti are identical like fire and its power to burn. When one thinks of the power to burn, one must also think of the fire. Again, Brahman and Shakti are like milk and its whiteness, water and its wetness. Now Sri Ramakrishna talks about Vijnana. We are very familiar with Jnana, but Sri Ramakrishna defines Vijnana. There is a stage beyond even Brahmajnana. So Brahmajnana is not the ultimate reality, not the ultimate experience. So what Sri Ramakrishna tells is that after Jnana comes Vijnana. He who is aware of knowledge is also aware of ignorance. Vasishtha Maharshi, there is a story. He was grieving for the loss of his sons. Lakshman asked the question, "Oh Rama, what is this?" Vasishtha Maharshi is one of the Saptarshis who had realized Brahman. Why he is weeping like ordinary man? Why the man of knowledge is weeping like this? Sri Ramchandra said, Lakshman, one must go beyond both knowledge and ignorance. He who has knowledge has ignorance also. If there is a thorn in the foot, take another thorn. With the help of the second thorn, remove the first one, and then throw away the second also. Here comes the need of Vijnana. He who is aware of light is also aware of darkness. He who is aware of happiness is also aware of suffering. He who is aware of virtue is also aware of vice. He who is aware of good is also aware of evil. He who is aware of holiness is also aware of unholiness. He who is aware of I is also aware of you. Then what is Vijnana? It is knowing God in a special way. Sri Ramakrishna tells, knowing God in a special way. The awareness and conviction that fire exists in the wood is jnana, knowledge. But to cook rice on that fire, eat the rice, get the nourishment from it, that is Vijnana. To know by one's inner experience that God exists is jnana, but to talk to Him, to enjoy Him as a child, as a friend, as a master, as beloved, is Vijnana. The realization that God alone has become the universe and all living beings, that is Vijnana. That is the height of realization, summit of realization. Nothing more to be realized thereafter. So we should aspire for the highest realization. That means how many grades are there? Grades. How many grades are there? So, but one thing is true. If a man pursues spiritual life, he rises from joy to joy, an ascending scale. There is no more depression. But as I said, one danger is temptations, they come. Lot of temptations come. In so many ways they come. When Sri Ramachandra learnt archery, Shastri Vidya, Astra Shastri Vidya from Vishwamitra, because he was so master, he was well established in character. So one time teaching, guiding is enough for him. He could immediately master it in no time. So when he learned Astra Shastri Vidya, all the goddesses of the weapons, they presented themselves before Sri Ramachandra. Sri Ramachandra, we are ready to serve you. You can order us, we are ready to do whatever you ask us to do. Sri Ramachandra said, keep quiet now. I will call when I need it. So we must have that strength of mind to order them to keep quiet. That is the test of spirituality. So this is my comment on previous class. Now I shall read some passage. Then you can ask questions. Page 288, Saturday, September 22nd, 1883. Sri Ramakrishna was seated in the drawing room of Adhar's house in Calcutta with Rakal, Adhar, M, Ishan and other devotees. Many gentlemen of the neighborhood were also present. It was afternoon. The master was very fond of Ishan. He had been a superintendent in the accountant general's office, and later on his children also occupied high government positions. One of them was a classmate of Narendra. Ishan's purse was always open for the poor and the needy. When he retired from service, he devoted his time to spiritual practices and charity. He often visited Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar. Sri Ramakrishna said to Ishan, please tell us the story of the boy who posted the letter. Ishan said with a smile, a boy once heard that God is our creator. So he wrote a letter to God, setting forth his prayers and posted it. The address he put on the envelope was heaven. Master, with a smile, asked, did you hear that story? One succeeds in spiritual life when one develops a faith like that boy's. To Ishan, again he said, tell us about the renunciation of activities. Ishan said, after the attainment of God, religious duties such as the Sandhya drop away. One day some people were sitting on the bank of the Ganges performing the Sandhya, but one of them abstained from it. On being asked the reason, he said, I am observing Ashaucha. Ashaucha is a temporary defilement caused by the birth or death of a blood relative. A man observing Ashaucha cannot perform the Sandhya or daily worship. So he said, I am observing Ashaucha, I cannot perform the Sandhya ceremony. In my case, the defilement is due to both a birth and a death. My mother ignorance is dead and my son self-knowledge has been born. Sri Ramakrishna said, tell us how caste distinctions drop away when one attains self-knowledge. Ishan said, Shankaracharya was once climbing the steps after finishing his bath in the Ganges when he saw just in front of him an untouchable who had a pack of dogs with him. You have touched me, said Shankara. Revered sir, said the pariah, I have not touched you, nor have you touched me. The self is the inner ruler of all beings and cannot be contaminated. Is there any difference between the sun's reflection in wine and its reflection in the Ganges? Sri Ramakrishna said with a smile. And about harmony, how one can realize God through all paths? Ishan said smilingly. Both Hari and Hara are derived from the same root. The difference is only in the pratyaya. There is a pun on this word which means both faith and infection. In reality, he who is Hari is also Hara. If a man has faith in God, then it doesn't matter whom he worships. Master said, and please tell us how the heart of the sadhu is the greatest of all. Ishan said, this earth is the largest thing we see anywhere around us, but larger than the earth is the ocean. The larger than the ocean is the sky, but Vishnu, the Godhead, has covered earth's sky and the nether world with one of his feet, and that foot of Vishnu is enshrined in the sadhu's heart. Therefore the heart of a holy man is the greatest of all. Devotees were delighted with Ishan's words. Ishan intended to retire to a solitary place and practice a special discipline of the Gayatri through which Brahman is invoked. But the master said that the knowledge of Brahman was not possible without the complete destruction of worldliness. Further he said that it is impossible for a man totally to withdraw his mind from the objects of the senses in the Kali Yuga, when his life was dependent on food. That's why the master discouraged people from attempting the Vedic worship of Brahman and asked them to worship Shakti, the Divine Mother, who is identical with Brahman. Master said to Ishan, why do you waste your time simply repeating Neti Neti? Nothing whatsoever can be specified about Brahman except that it exists. Whatever we see or think about is a manifestation of the glory of the primordial energy, the primal consciousness, creation, preservation and destruction, living beings and the universe, and further meditation and the meditator, bhakti and prema. All these are manifestations of the glory of that power. But Brahman is identical with its power. And returning from Ceylon, Hanuman praised Rama, saying, O Rama, you are the supreme Brahman, and Sita is your Shakti. You and she are identical. Brahman and Shakti are like the snake and its wriggling motion. Thinking of the snake, one must think of its wriggling motion. And thinking of its wriggling motion, one must think of the snake. Or they are like milk and its whiteness. Thinking of milk, one has to think of its color, that is whiteness. And thinking of the whiteness of milk, one has to think of milk itself. Or they are like water and its wetness. Thinking of water, one has to think of wetness. And thinking of the wetness of water, one has to think of water. The primal power, Mahamaya, has covered Brahman. As soon as the covering is withdrawn, one realizes, I am what I was before. I am thou, thou art I. As long as that covering remains, the Vedantic formula, I am he, that is, man is the supreme Brahman, doesn't rightly apply. The wave is part of the water, but the water is not part of the wave. As long as that covering remains, one should call on God as mother. Addressing God, the devotees should say, thou art the mother, and I am thy child. Thou art the master, and I am thy servant. It is good to have the attitude of the servant toward the master. From this relationship of master and servant spring up other attitudes. The attitude of serene love for God, the attitude of friend toward friend, and so forth. When the master loves his servant, he may say to him, come sit by side. Sit by my side. There is no difference between you and me. But if the servant comes forward of his own will to sit by the master, will not the master be angry? God's play on earth as an incarnation is a manifestation of the glory of the Chit Shakti, the divine power. That which is Brahman is also Rama, Krishna, Shiva. We shall stop here. Any question? There are many householders who are saints. Those who manifest spiritual qualities in their life are loving, compassionate, kind, not hurting anybody. So whoever it is who exhibit these qualities, they are considered as God. As I said, attachments are the root cause for our suffering. Attachments brings in its chain jealousy, hatred, all those things. You are attached to a particular thing, you are scared if anybody snatches away that thing. And you become jealous if somebody loves the thing which you are loving. So attachment has got all these different shades. If he is attached, there are people who are not attached, there are householders who are not attached but carry on their duties. Suppose a person is married and is living with family. He is married, he is living with family. You can't expect some neighbor to look after his family. He has to look after. But he will look after well with a sense of duty. He is obliged to do. He does it. But he is devoted to God. So being devoted to God paves the way towards non-attachment. Saintliness manifests only when his mind is pure. If his mind is pure and it doesn't cause discomfort to anybody through thought, through action, through whatever means, so he is considered saint. There are many people without the idea of God, but they are good. They are good people, no doubt. But they don't have the conception of God, etc. So they remain good, they die as good. Again they are born to reap the result of being good. Mother, Devi, to Holy Mother, she was a householder. What doubt is there? But how many people can live like Holy Mother? They are ideal setters. They are the ideal. Ideal householder should be like them. Is it? Of course it is. According to that ideal, Holy Mother loved everybody. All were her children. Good, bad, everybody. Without any distinction, she would help them in every manner. She was kind and compassionate. At the time, during her last days, when she came to know that she would be leaving her body, she was looking after Radhu. People thought Holy Mother was attached to that lady. No, it's because of that Radhu's episode, Holy Mother could keep her mind in the level of the world. Otherwise her mind would be always in samadhi. But then she said, all right, no more. Get away from it disconnects everybody. Get out. Nobody is allowed now. So she detaches herself from everything when she was about to give up her body. It's difficult. I am not telling it is easy. It is difficult. But everything has got its value. The more the difficult, the more the special power is there in it when you acquire it. To transcend these trigunas, it requires a lot of conscious effort, and he should be always watchful about his doings. There's every possibility when he is Rajasic, he can slip down to Tamasic instead of rising to Sattvic. Because when a man is Rajasic, he becomes egoistic, his ego becomes inflated, and he thinks he is too important. He becomes very much sophisticated. Nobody can handle him. So the power position makes him completely forget his sattvic element in him. So the way to transcend rajas is you must transform the activities somehow in a spiritual way. That is, if you do the activities constantly remembering God and constantly thinking about the spiritual ideals and spiritual ideas, constantly you should think when you are doing the work. By that way, you will be able to control yourself to a certain extent. Instead of becoming egoistic, you become more and more humble. All this glory is because of God's grace. Because of God's grace, I am able to do this. Once you cherish that feeling, you are safe. If you think, I am doing, who is God, where is God? It's all nonsense people talk about. I did it, I got it. If a man talks that way, that means there is no hope for him to rise above Rajasic. On the other hand, there is danger of his slipping down to Tamasic tendency. But by the power of his holy association, suppose he comes in contact with holy people who are living spiritual life. By their contact, all these impurities in their activities are sorted out. You are doing it, do this way. You are going to office, doing the job, all right. But do it in a calm, steady manner, without becoming upset. But do it in a dutiful way, and then offer it to God, that whatever is done is for your sake I am doing. For your sake I am doing everything. All my labor is for you. For the sake of God I am doing these things. That you should do it honestly, not simply talking about. Telling, if you say that I am doing for the sake of God, it means you have to be truthful, you have to be sincere, you have to be honest. You have to follow all the values, that is moral and ethical values. That means it follows that you must be well established in character. It follows that. Otherwise the idea will not work. If a man is not established in character, the spiritual ideas will not work at all. So that means you must have to undergo spiritual disciplines. Then you do whatever you do. then everything becomes spiritual. That's what Brahmanji used to say in the Eternal Companion. Work becomes worship. If you do the work with the idea of God, it is not sitting in front of Thakur and offering flowers, sandal paste, dhoop, etc. It is not, that is the only worship. Even doing the job in the office is also a worship, provided your mind is sitting on God, sitting with God. You are doing for the sake of Him. With that feeling, if you do it, then it becomes, suppose you come and do here some vacuuming the chapel. It's a work, but you do it with joy. I am doing for the sake of, for the love of God I am doing. I love this place, I do it. Suppose you hire a person. He also does the same job, vacuuming the chapel, but he doesn't have that feeling. So from his standpoint, if it's only a work. But from your standpoint, it is not simply work. It is yoga. The same work is yoga for one and not yoga for another. If it is categorized as yoga, it paves the way for spiritual illumination. It purifies your heart. You become broad-minded. You try to learn how to share all your things with others. All these things you will be able to do. So one who has transcended the gunas, how he behaves, he is not perturbed by any things of this world. Sukha dukkhe samaya kritva labha labho jaya jayo. He is balanced in every whether it's dukkha, whether sukha, they do come. Just like summer and winter. You should not complain, oh, winter has come. It is torturing. When the summer comes, oh, summer has come. Sun is torturing. Likewise, everywhere, everything is torturing. Rainy season, oh, rain is torturing. So where is the way? But it is natural. If you think it is natural, the season. If you think that way, then you don't feel natural, you don't feel upset, you feel joy. Oh, winter has come, let me celebrate Christmas this time. Excellent. Like that. Spring comes and summer comes. There are so many festivals. Every season has got a beautiful festival so that we may have spiritual activity in all the seasons. That's the idea. That's why you find in Hindu tradition, every day is considered a holy day. Every day is a holy day. It's remarkable. Remarkable. And what a joy it is. Festival. Every householder, ideal householder, his house is always busy in feeding the people, in serving the people, because they will have some function, they will invite people. That way you become broad-minded. All your small, the chicken heart becomes broad-hearted, and that miserliness goes away. These are all methods to get rid of. Eating yourself, what greatness is there? What greatness is there? But you will call a person and give, please take this. And you take. You feel more joy in that. That joy is called spiritual joy. So a man who has transcended the gunas, he is balanced, calm and steady, quiet, serene, not be shaken by ups and downs. Whatever is to happen will happen. That's all. Nothing to worry about that. Nothing to bother because of such things. That state, that means even in worst circumstances, he looks very serene, looks very peaceful, looks very calm. That is the indication. If they are not careful, and if their realization is not complete, then question of falling down is always there. Always there. But depression comes. So how to get out of depression? Ishwar Pranidhana means what? Ishwar Pranidhana, how can you practice Ishwar Pranidhana with a depressed mind? How do you fight? I have already told them. I am just putting that question so that I thought you may answer to what I told. In the class itself I have told. Yeah. Must have tremendous faith. Faith in God. Have that, nurture it, develop it. You will see wonder of wonders. It is vice versa also. If you keep on practicing spiritual disciplines, faith will increase. You become strong physically. You become strong mentally. By the combination of these two, you become spiritually strong. So spiritual strength is the final product. First you must become physically strong. Then it paves the way for mental strength. Then it paves the way for spiritual strength. So there are different ways. But, as I said, if you come to Sri Ramakrishna, if a child comes to the mother, the child feels secured. Oh, my mother is there, she looks after me. By mere presence of the mother, she doesn't think of anything. The question of fear, etc. doesn't arise at all. So the question of depression, all sorts of things, they don't exist if your mind is set on incarnation. For example, in this age, Sri Ramakrishna has come. Previously, many incarnations have come. In every time, the incarnation they come to raise the people, to show them the way. So we should take use of that opportunity. We should take up that opportunity and make our life blessed. So spiritual activity is very important. With all your worldly things, worldly activities, you should never neglect your spiritual activity. That's what I always feel. I always strongly feel that. But I was suggesting somebody also. Why not we have, at some point of time, we have to contact people who are interested and let us have one day meditation instead of weekend spending some time in some gathering, some just killing the time some way, or in a worldly sense, to relax your mind in a worldly way. Relaxing the mind in a worldly way is to go join some club and drink and have some that fun and come and become exhausted, drop down on the bed. That is called worldly relaxation. So worldly relaxation makes you more degraded. You become wreck. Body becomes weak, mind becomes weak, turbid. What freshness is that? Once you taste the spiritual freshness, all these things are not even to be thought of. When the weekend comes, you must rush to the ashrama. I must go to the ashrama. That's the sign of your indication. Anyway, spiritual activity is very important. You must feel. See, people aspire. Oh, Swamiji, we want a place, we want to come and spend our time. We householders, the house is not the place. Lots of people come, they disturb, they do this, that, etc. Millions of things, reasons they give. All right, we establish a center. Come on. Once the center is established, next day they disappear all. It is mind behaves like a monkey. We are not steady in what we say. We are not determined. We are not firm in our conviction, in our ideals. We are not firm. We are shaken. All the time we are shaking. We are terribly shaking. So, doubts will come, depression will come, all sorts of things do come. That only shows spirituality has not started. If spirituality starts, depression must go lower and lower. It must come to zero. It must develop. All the spiritual qualities must sprout nicely, like flowers. Should be. Spiritual happiness is uncomparable. So, whenever you find time, instead of allowing the mind to run away to some distant place, run to the ashrama. Sit down here. Even though you may not be able to meet me, Sri Ramakrishna is there to meet everybody. From morning 4:30 up to 9 o'clock, even without rest, Sri Ramakrishna is ready to meet all of you. Come here directly and sit here. Spend some time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. Spend some time in meditation. Then go do some whatever little service you can render. And after the service is over, again come here, make salutation. That concludes. If anything is not done properly, it is not concluded properly. It's not complete. People are there. They come straight, they can run to here and there. Without caring to come inside, settle down for some time. Come here and sit for at least 2 minutes. Running is all right. You are always being running. Sit down. That also you must learn. Sitting also is to be learned. Sit down for a few minutes. Pray to him. Pray for the welfare of all the people. Then go out. Render your service. Then again don't forget. Again come. Before you go, again come here. Tell him, Swamiji, I am going. Please bless me. Then go. You will see tremendous inspiration in yourself. In spite of all those things, certain things do happen, but don't connect them to God. All those things are happening because of all our misdeeds or whatever it is, our association with so many other people, interaction. So that Vichara Shakti, develop that, nicely analyze it, kick them out from the mind. That's all. You are the master of your mind. Why should you bother? And the question of coming down comes only when they have not attained the highest. Once you have reached the highest state of samadhi, there is no coming back again. So a person who is really transcending all these things is really dissolving his mind. That is, mind and Atman become one. He is no more to be tied down in this body-mind complex. That also is ruled out. Sri Ramakrishna says a man who attains samadhi, he will not become conscious of his outward existence at all. In 21 days his body will drop away, normally speaking. But those who come down, but they're categorized as special persons with special mission. Ishwara Kotis, they say. They come with a refined mind. The mind which was responsible for up to that time is already gone. They come with a new mind, refined mind, to carry out certain work. Say, if you have to retain the body, if you have to maintain your consciousness in the body level, it implies that certain amount of human nature should be there. If you completely remove the human nature, you can't exist in the human body. So little amount of what we should say, little amount of impurity, you may call it as the humanness. To behave like a human being, you must have such little touch of Maya should be there. Otherwise you can't be conscious of this world at all. If you transcend the Maya, where is the world for you? That's the way. That is to feel, to be assured, to be confident that there is supreme divine power, and by His grace surely I will be able to accomplish my desired goal. So that is the quality of faith. That feeling. Questioning what? Questioning what? No. First of all, before you step into spiritual life, first of all you must prepare the ground. First of all you must know what is God, what is spiritual path, what is spiritual discipline, who are the people who have attained illumination, what are their sayings, how did they live the life. By studying those things, the faith develops. It is possible. It is possible to live spiritual life for me also. So that starting point is considered to be faith. Unless you develop that, unless you believe, if you don't believe anything, then faith cannot come. Faith is the one that is a man endowed with faith. His whole being is there. Suppose I am endowed with faith in Sri Ramakrishna. When I sit for worship, my whole being is sitting there. I don't care what is happening outside. I don't care what is happening to my left side, right side, back side, etc. My whole being is sitting there, finished. That strong determination, that is, your experience will start afterwards. Experience is the end result, end product. To get the experience, faith is required. To get that experience, faith is required. Yeah, you can have, but provided provided you won't get distracted by so many forms. Suppose I have got 20 gods here. You can't sit for meditation. How? Suppose you sit and meditating on Sri Ramachandra. Suddenly the mind switches on to my Shiva is there. Suddenly the mind switches on, my Kali is there. Again it switches on to something else. My Krishna is there. So it goes on switching on. Then where is the power of concentration there? So, yeah, I will complete my. So what I say, that reality is, when you know that same God, He is taking all different forms. When you know it is true, then what is the use of having so many forms? On the other hand, I will have one form, which is the form of all gods and goddesses. That solves all the problem. Concentration also becomes easy. And if you want to see any God, the same God whom you are worshipping will show you that God. For example, Lord Krishna, He showed Himself as Rama to Hanuman. Because the Supreme God is Rama Himself. So though He was Krishna, He appeared as Rama in front of Hanuman because Hanuman loved Rama's form. Then Hanuman appreciated Krishna, Krishna's glory. He could find out Rama and Krishna are one and the same. That realization he got because Krishna appeared before him as Rama. Like that. But in the initial stage, you see, every form of God has got its special powers, some specific powers. As I said earlier, God's power is infinite. So infinite channels are there for the manifestation of this supreme power. It is channelized into different ways. The source is same. It is just like the electrical energy. The source is electrical energy, but is used in appliances in so many millions of ways we are using. Computer, we are using electricity. Everything. Cooking, we are using. Lighting, we are using. How many appliances are there? You can't imagine. But source is same. One energy, electrical energy. When it passes through particular medium, it behaves in particular way. When it passes through microwave, it behaves in one way. When it passes through computer equipment, it behaves in another way. Though they appear different, if you go to the source, they are the same. Just like that. If you have that capacity, wonderfully all right. If you have got that capacity to love all gods, very good. You must have that capacity. We can't make a rule. We can't make a rule about that. Ruling. We can't give a ruling. R-U-L-I-N-G. All right, we shall stop here. Next we shall continue. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. Our name streamed down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord. In each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame, as many times as I may be reborn. Grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for Thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is Thy servant, O sweet one. In Thy mercy consider him as dust beneath Thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from Thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without Thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at Thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of Thine arms nor bewailing the withdrawal of Thy presence. Though it tears my soul asunder, O Thou who stealest the hearts of Thy devotees, do with me what Thou wilt, for Thou art my heart's beloved, Thou and Thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy. May all be free from disease. May all realize what is good. May none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous attain tranquility. May the tranquil be free from bonds. May the freed make others free. May good betide all people. May the sovereign righteously rule the earth. May all beings ever attain what is good. May the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time. May the earth be blessed with crops. May all countries be freed from calamity. May holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.